Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today I wanted to talk about Sui because things just keep getting better and better, and it's kind of crazy seeing what it's done recently. And so I wanted to talk a little bit more about what we're seeing in the market right now and what we're seeing on the charts and all that type of stuff, because there's a lot to talk about today, and I want to go over kind of what this could mean for the price of Sui and potentially what price we could even be seeing for Sui by the end of the year. So anyway, let's go on ahead and dive right in. So starting out, what we can see is we're almost pushing $4 at this point. I mean, earlier on, even if we look a couple days back, we could see, we were hitting 390, 388. Like we're getting really, really close. And that $4 mark is definitely proving to be a bit of a psychological barrier. But what we can see is, easily broke past the $10 billion in market cap, almost 40 and fully diluted. This is also something we need to keep an eye on too, is that there is a very, very large fully diluted market cap here, meaning that there are a lot of essentially coins that have not been introduced into circulation yet. And so this is something that obviously selling pressure is going to be kind of ongoing on the Sui chart for a continued period of time. So again, not anything to dissuade or could potentially even slow down the run up, but it's just something that, when potentially we run into a bear market, this could be something that you definitely need to be very well aware of, is that there is going to be a lot of baked in selling pressure. So, but overall, I mean, that's not to take away anything from the fact of what the Sui ecosystem is actually doing right now. And so now keep in mind, this is a little bit of an old chart. So this is about 2 weeks old, but what we can see, this was posted on Twitter, that Sui is essentially doing more DEX trading volume than Near, Ton, and Aptos combined. Now, this is important because of Ton. So if we go back to CoinGecko, what we can see here is that Sui is the number 17 coin at a $10 billion market cap. Ton coin is up here at $14 billion. So about 40% higher market cap, but it does about a third of the DEX trading volume that Sui is doing. So that's obviously something that we definitely want to keep in mind here. We are going to be going into DeFi Llama a little bit later on in the video to talk about this a little bit more at length, but that's just something I want to show right now, is this is kind of what we're looking at in the market currently, is that Sui essentially could go up 40% and just to flip the next largest blockchain that does a third of the volume of what they've done. So obviously a ton of volume exploding on Sui, which is very, very good to see. Now, if we go and look at the chart a little bit more specifically, there's a couple of things that we can see here. So first off, we are sitting definitely in the overbought territory of the RSI, which again, not necessarily a bad thing, but it does typically mean that we are seeing a lot of, we're seeing some highs that we haven't seen previously. Obviously, we could see here, earlier on in the chart, we were also overbought, kind of hitting in the $1 to $2 range. But what we can see is RSI continued to essentially creep down, giving way for us to kind of make another run up. But price never really actually broke below when it first initially hit this overbought. It first initially hit overbought at, let's see if we can figure this out here. It was about $1.16, and it went down to essentially below average at its low, which was right here. Actually, well, we have a lower low here at $1.60. So this goes to show you that even though we are at overbought currently, we could essentially make this whole recovery while price continues to go up, just maybe in a less parabolic manner, right? Maybe we see it pull back to this kind of fib extension level here, the 1618. Maybe we kind of trade sideways, and then we'd make another crazy run up. We can see that's kind of what happened here, and that's kind of what what we saw. And so what I wanted to talk about here is a little bit regarding the fib extensions, because we can see we've already crushed through this 1618. We're kind of sitting in the no man's land between 1618 and 2618, and I would imagine we're starting to run into a little bit of we're running out of steam here. You can see we've seen a lot of wicks up, but I think, bulls are probably taking a little bit of profit. VCs are very heavily involved in Sui, and so I'm sure VCs are probably starting to take some profit as we start to, kind of run up a little bit here. But this is all totally fine, totally reasonable. Yes, Sui has a lot of VC involvement, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? I mean, Solana had a lot of VC involvement as well, and Solana's going nuts. And so VC involvement isn't inherently a bad thing. It's just something that we need to be aware of because of different tokenomics types of things, fully diluted market cap, all of this type of stuff. And so what we're seeing so far is, we're starting to see a little bit of profit taking going on here. We might be seeing a little bit of a retracement, but overall, I think the chart looking good. Things for Sui overall looking really nice. And we're going to go into that here in a second. But before that, if you are interested in trading Sui up to 25x leverage, you can use Margex. I do use Margex for most of my trading. I do have that link in the description if you are interested. I do also have a link to BTCC where I do still have that super awesome 10% deposit match bonus going on. It goes on through the end of the month. So if that is something that you're interested in, please feel free to use either of those. I personally just use Margex just because that's kind of what I have been using. However, I am probably going to start moving my money over to BTCC just because they do have a lot of really nice deals, and they've got a lot of interesting like user functions and things that I've actually kind of liked as I've been kind of using it and promoting it more. But overall, if you are interested in trading Sui and kind of taking some of these low leverage plays, or I guess you could use high leverage if you want. Again, not financial advice. I personally wouldn't recommend it, but you shouldn't be listening to me for anything like that, just because you need to make your own financial decisions. And if you understand how to do those types of things, then, you know, good for you. But overall, so if you are interested in using any of those, feel free to do that. Moving on, what I did want to show you though is a bit of an interesting comparison that was actually posted more recently. This was posted today, comparing Sui and Solana, kind of where they were based on like their current market cycles. And so what we can see is based on kind of where Sui is comparable to Solana in its type of like overall rise, we could see Solana only had about 150 million of total value locked, where Sui has about 1.6 billion, which is crazy. And even I would say, you know, like that's cool, right? Whatever. But what's even more crazy than that is at this point in time, we could see Bitcoin dominance is already starting to kind of bleed down, essentially meaning that we just entered into altcoin season. And so Solana was really starting to run as we essentially started entering alt season, right? Well, we really haven't seen that happen yet. Bitcoin dominance has trended up this entire time that Sui has gone crazy, which I think is why there's so much hype and optimism and interest around this coin, is because it's really pulling, honestly, like quite an interesting spectacle before we've even entered alt season, which I think kind of begs the question, well, like what happens when we enter alt season, right? And now, who knows, you know, maybe Sui's kind of front running alt season and it's going to be kind of lagging as we get more into alt season because most of its returns will have kind of come by then. Who's to say for sure? But overall, you know, this is kind of what we're seeing. And to me, this is the truly impressive part about what Sui has done so far. Obviously, TVL, really important. Good to know always for sure. But the how it's performed in a essentially Bitcoin season is very important to notice. So looking at DeFi Llama, there's a lot of really interesting things that we can see. And so obviously you can see I'm tabbed into Avalanche here. We can see that AVAX has actually less TVL than what Sui does currently. And if we go back to where we're at on the chart here, AVAX is at a 14.4 billion market cap. And then if we also look at Toncoin, we can also see over here 313. And so Sui essentially almost, not quite, but it almost has more TVL than both AVAX and Ton combined, both of which are about 40% higher in market cap than what Sui is currently. We can see Sui right here, and then with AVAX and Ton here. Now, if we go up one more and we look on the chart and we can see Tron. Tron's up here. That's kind of like the next large chain for us to flip, and that would be Tron at 17.5. Now, if we look at Tron, we can see a couple different things. Obviously, Tron has much more total value locked. However, if we look at volume, we can see Tron is only doing anywhere between 20 to 100 million in volume a day, where if we look at volume on Sui, it's totally different. I mean, we're seeing like consistent 2 to 400 million volume days. And so even though there's less TVL on Sui, the volume is like orders of magnitude greater than what we're seeing on Tron, even though they do in fact have more TVL and larger stablecoins. Tron overall is just a more like mature and like robust ecosystem. But one of the key kind of like, I guess, indicators of that is how volume trends on that chain, right? And we're seeing volume is trending very bullishly for Sui. And so TVL is kind of something that is just, it kind of comes with the volume, right? And so obviously as more activity is conducted on chain, we will see stablecoin market cap increase. This is something that I would say is very important to note as well. We are seeing that stablecoin market cap is currently, I would say, kind of lagging compared to what we're seeing here, particularly with what we've seen on Tron, because a lot of times, like, you can fake volume, right? Like, you can fake interactions, you can fake a lot of stuff on chain. One thing you can't really fake per se is stable coins, because if it's a true stable coin, it needs to be kind of like real money sitting there on chain. And so this is something that you can't necessarily fake, right? And so this is really what I want to keep a close eye on, is how are stable coins kind of trending and how are they like maturing on the Sui chain. Overall, you know, I think everything on Sui so far is looking really good between TVL and volume and, you know, all this type of stuff that we're seeing on chain. And so overall, hopefully this was a helpful and relatively useful update. There's a lot going on within the Sui ecosystem. I'm trying to provide somewhat frequent updates on Sui and kind of how things are unfolding. I do think we could see kind of that $4 to $5 range, by the end of the year. Kind of looking at, what we were seeing in the chart earlier, that would be kind of that 2618 range. I think between kind of the 2618 and the $5 kind of psychological barrier, we may run into a decent chunk of resistance, and depending on how easily we can break that, we might even be able to look at kind of the $6.5 range. But overall, I think 5 is probably a pretty decent place that we could be looking at towards the end of the year. So anyway, as I mentioned, if you did enjoy the information in this video, please do give me a like and subscribe. It really does help me out, especially getting me pushed further into the YouTube algorithm, and hopefully having more people see my videos and hopefully enjoy it as well. So also, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, anything like that, please feel free to drop a comment in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of my comments, and so that'd be a great way for me to see anything you want me to see. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.